In the third module, we see how we use the strategy that we have developed to construct effective and comprehensive responses to the questions that you may be asked in an interview. Here we go. We'll be going through now a range of questions you might get during the course of an interview. As I mentioned earlier, it's impossible to study and prepare for every conceivable question, but I think we have a nice range of questions here to see how we would apply the concepts that we've discussed. First question, which is a common one, and definitely you should be prepared for, tell me about yourself. This is a great question, but it often confuses applicants because it's so ambiguous. Applicants are unsure what the interviewer wants to know. However, your SAY strategy gives you clear guidance on how to answer. Your goal for the interview is to get a job offer. So your answer should give the interviewer the information that the interviewer needs to know in order to want to hire you. Don't discuss your personal life or quote your resume in detail. The interviewer can read that and presumably has. Your answer should give the interviewer information not on the resume. Your career goals, your strengths, your skills, your plans, and describe to the interviewer how you will add value to the company. Share more about something on your resume. Be prepared to give details for any statement on your resume. If you were laid off in a general staff reduction, but put your layoff in the broader context. Don't leave the interviewer with the impression that you were the only one let go. Be prepared to discuss what you learned at a previous job and the skills you acquired. Be positive about previous jobs. Discuss the value you took from each. Don't be negative and critical of previous employers and bosses. Because you are defending your resume, you therefore must be 100% confident that the resume reflects who you are. Don't make changes in your resume just because someone says you need to do this or you need to do that, add this or take that out or change the appearance. Your name is at the top of the resume. You have to be comfortable with it. You're sitting there in the interview defending it, so you must be absolutely positive that it's what you want it to be. The next question regarding how the company may benefit sometimes is asked by why should we hire you? Another very critical question that you should be prepared for. Discuss how your skills and experience make you the strongest candidate for the position. Don't compare yourself to some imaginary other applicant. Promote your value with passion on your own merits, not relative to anyone else. Be energetic and enthusiastic. You should answer with passion, emotion, and conviction. It's wonderful to say, I love my work or profession or career, and describe why you love it. A company is more likely to hire someone who loves what he or she does versus someone who just likes the work or finds it interesting or challenging. If you were selling a consumer product and the customer was at the final stage of making a buy decision or leaving the store, you would marshal your most persuasive arguments and deliver them with conviction and passion. Do the same when answering this question. When you're answering a question about why you work at this company, you need to realize that this is actually a two-part question. First part is, why do you want to work? Why do you want to do that kind of work? The second part, which is really the focus of this question, is why this company? And in responding, it should be more than just getting a paycheck. Consider the opportunities for advancement and learning new skills in the context of doing more for the company, not just to make you feel better about yourself. Give a you answer rather than a me answer. Now, this question makes it obvious why you have to research the company in depth before you interview. It would be extremely difficult to answer effectively if you haven't done your research. We discussed this when we talked about doing the research before you go in. And you definitely have to talk about what you've learned from your research. Talk about what you've learned that's important, where you learned it, because that highlights that you made an effort to dig up the information, and then why is it important to you? For example, if you got the question, why do you want to work here at my company? You would say, I saw on your website that you've been in business for 30 years, and I'm looking for a long-term career opportunity. Being in business for so long, working through all the economics up and downs that we've had over that time frame clearly indicates this is a well-managed company. So I'm confident that it's the right company to consider for a long-term career. So that would be an answer that would touch on the three important elements. What is it that you learned? In the example I gave you, it's the number of years it's been in business. Where did you learn it? From the website. So that talks about to doing the research. And the third item is why it's important to you because you're looking for a long-term career. And our last question on this page, what in your experience indicates you're a good candidate? Describe the skills and experience you possess that are a good fit for the position. Align your discussion with the skills you know the interviewer is looking for. Maybe you could pull a couple words from the job ad, sprinkle them into your response because these words are critical, obviously, for the kinds of skills that they are looking for. So, what do you hope to find out during the interview process to help you decide whether you want to work there? This question serves a dual purpose for the interviewer to determine whether you are the right person for the position, and for you to determine whether you want to work in that company. Describe what you need to know to make your decision, not a vacation program or how long lunchtime is. What do you feel is the greatest accomplishment? Your answer does not have to be job or school related. It could be personal. Show passion when discussing it. Your answer will reveal much about your character, what you feel is most important to you, and what you are proudest of. The emotion and pride you display could be more important than the accomplishment itself. What are your strongest skills? Discuss skills that are important for the position you are applying for. If you have an example from a previous job or experience that demonstrates that it is a strong skill and that you've accomplished and what you've accomplished with that skill, you should highlight that. We have identified your skills, your strengths as related to the job in developing the skills inventory. So you should use the results of that work in answering this question. What job related skill do you feel is the greatest development opportunity? Well, that's another way of asking what skill do you need to work on or what's your weakness? Everyone has some skill that could be improved relative to other skills and talents they have. An answer, well, I have no skill I need to work on, would probably not be acceptable to your interviewer. Sometimes, if you carry a strong skill to an excessive degree, that could be a problem. For example, if you are very well organized but sometimes become obsessive about it, balancing that extreme is an improvement opportunity. Your response should not describe a development need in a job critical skill. Otherwise, you will be disqualified from the job. Once you have described the skill you need to improve, discuss your plan to work on that skill. Don't leave it hanging as a neglected development need. What attracts you to this type of work? A good answer aligns the nature of the position and the skills, background, goals, and interests that you have. Passion for your field and the skills to succeed in it are the most important factors for the best career choice. Discuss the how and why you develop such a passion for this type of work. What motivates you to do a good job? Some people would say money or recognition or your personal standard of excellence, your ambition, integrity, loyalty. There are many things you could say. Whatever you respond will tell the interviewer much about your personality and character. Whatever motivates you should be discussed in the context of supporting and contributing to the success of your teammates and colleagues and the entire organization. If you're asked about your outside interests, your answer may show if you would fit in the culture of the company. These interests can define your character and values. If you describe something that you are passionate about and you find especially fulfilling, show your passion. When asked about 5 years from now or the vision, where do you see yourself, you should be prepared to discuss your career goals and criteria for success in the position you are applying for. Your answer should not focus primarily on making more money and being promoted, except in the context that those career advancements reflect the successes you achieved in your position and your desire for increased opportunity to add value to the organization. The best way to achieve your goals is to strive continually to exceed expectations, and you should make clear that objective drives your career planning. This question about why we should select you is an extremely important one. Kind of like a salesman making the final close to a sale. You have to make the close on your sale, selling yourself as the right person to the job. Tell the company why it should hire you and why you are the best candidate for the job. You should answer with passion, emotion, and conviction. It's wonderful to say, I love my work, and describe why you love it. A company is more likely to hire someone who loves what he or she does versus someone who just likes the work and finds it interesting and challenging. If you are someone who's switching a career from having worked in your own business to now working for someone, this question needs to be one you prepare for. Are you prepared to work for someone rather than run your own business? The interviewer may have some doubts whether someone who made all the decisions and directed others could now successfully adapt to having someone else give direction and set priorities. Describe the great learning opportunity running a business provides, giving you valuable experience and insights on what it takes to run a business and how the various disciplines and skills must come together to make a business successful. Discuss how you enjoyed building a business, and even in the long run, if it didn't work out, you learned a great deal and now want to bring that knowledge and experience into a different setting. Here are some questions that might relate to the job itself that you are applying for. What do you think this job entails? And what might you like or dislike about the work? One aspect of the work you should like is the opportunity it would offer to you to contribute meaningfully to the success of the organization. That's the why of the SAY strategy we discussed earlier. Another important point to make is that even if there is some aspect of the work you are not particularly fond of, you are confident that you would be committed to it and would get the work done successfully. How would you respond to a customer who calls to complain? Put yourself in the position of the customer. How would you like to be serviced? Do you have an example of how you handled a difficult customer or client in the past? Discuss the situation and how you resolved it successfully. How would you respond to a coworker who complains to you about a manager or company policy or procedure? Very tricky question. Make it clear that you would not get dragged down by the office politics and griping. You must recognize that coworkers may have misinterpreted some action or, in fact, identified an improvement opportunity. You should offer to assist the person to clarify the issue or explore the improvement opportunity. But you shouldn't volunteer to be point person, otherwise you may get viewed as the complainer. How do you handle an employee who doesn't appear to be working hard? How do you motivate that kind of employee? Well, communication is the key. Communication is often the best solution to a problem you'll encounter in the workplace. Talk to the employee to determine what the root cause is. Unless you know the cause, you cannot determine whether you have the ability or authority to address the problem and what the remedy might be. If you have experienced such a problem in your work history, describe how you applied the strategy to resolve successfully that problem. How do you handle constructive criticism? You should welcome constructive criticism. It's one of the best ways to determine how your boss or others view your job performance and how you can improve. If you think the criticism is wrong or unfair, the response should be to ask for details and examples and talk through the issues rather than argue about it. Describe a conflict that you have with a colleague. Don't discuss whose fault the conflict was. The key issue is how you handled it. Try to understand your colleague's view. That will help you arrive at a mutually beneficial solution. If you have an example from your work experience, this is a great question to respond to with something that you actually did, and obviously something that you did successfully. If you're asked about how you would handle an opportunity to suggest improvement in a company practice, talk about how you worked within the channels. You don't work outside channels. The more people you bring into the change process, the more likely it will be that you will get buy-in from your coworkers and the changes will stick. Explain how you are a proactive employee, always looking for opportunities to improve processes, but by working through the system. Did you ever have two bosses telling you to do conflicting tasks? How would you handle it? Communication is the key again. Don't decide the priorities on your own. It's better for you to determine the priority based on your knowledge of the company's goals and strategies, and then bring your recommendation to the bosses rather than throw the issue back to them. That's one way of adding value. If you see an opportunity for an improvement, bring it to your boss. If your boss asks you to do a very involved job and you did the work and now you bring it to your boss to review, if you have the opportunity, don't say, well, boss, what do you want me to do next? You should say, boss, this is what I think we should do next. Do you agree? That's adding value. You should pursue opportunities always to add value. And in your interview, you should express that that's one of your drivers, one of the skills that you have. Always looking for opportunities to do things better, working within the system. How about a time you had to do something and you didn't know how to do it? Are you a quick study? Did you reach out for help from colleagues? These situations should be viewed as opportunities to improve your skills and help you an employer. Here's where you can say that you welcome such challenges. How did you handle criticism from your boss? Constructive feedbacks helps you improve performance and can lead to salary increases and promotions. It's like a traffic sign on the highway. It tells where you are and what direction you're going. You should always say that you welcome constructive criticism rather than try to avoid it. Did you ever fire anyone or hire anyone? Well, if you've had that responsibility, you want to talk about how you handled the process. And don't talk about a way to hire people if it's a way that you wouldn't want to be hired yourself. You're sitting there in an interview to be hired. So don't describe how to hire someone if it's different than you would have to be hired. That would create a lot of conflict and confusion on the part of your interviewer. What did you like or not like about your previous job? Well, you don't want to be negative or disparaging. Talk about the positives and the valuable knowledge and experience and skills you acquired. Even if there was some facet of the previous job you didn't like, emphasize that you certainly did not let that affect your commitment to do the job well and on time. Did you have a difficult situation you encountered at school? How did you resolve it? Resolve it. This can involve a conflict with a colleague, a difficult assignment, or a failed project. Describe how you proactively addressed the situation rather than avoided it and accept accountability to respond and resolve the problem. Tell me about something you failed at. Well, don't be reluctant to discuss a failure in your past. Everyone has a failure at some point in their experience. Use this discussion to show how you can honestly and candidly evaluate your critical success skills. We often learn more from our failures than from our successes. After a failure, we usually ask ourselves what we could have done differently and what we should do to make sure we don't fail again. Your interviewer asks you how you made a difference on your previous job. Well, what did you do in the previous job that led to a positive and constructive change? Was it something that displayed creativity, initiative, or accountability? It could involve people, processes, results, procedures, etc. It doesn't have to be something grand or super, but just within your sphere of influence.